So,
Testing 1, 2.
so the question I wanted to ask you is basically, now you said b-boying's getting more complex now, more technical. Like people not just doing simple power moves or simple footwork, or combining things and things like that. And it's kind of like everything is getting well-rounded, but you said also the originality is getting lost.
Yeah.
How do you think people can get that kind of thing back without, you know?
Okay. You gotta imitate before you can create. You know what I mean? Well, you can create without imitation, but you know, creating something, somebody will follow and copy that, and then they end up evolutionizing that and creating something else with that. So it's kind of 360 degrees. I think we're at a good stage, like stage as in everyone wants information and they're learning. But out of 1,000 at a jam, you would say the percentage rate is very low. I don't know how many in the percentage rate, but the percentage rate is very low that they could be considered the leaders and everybody else is following them. When you watch people break, you can tell who they copy. You know what I mean? So the ones they are copying are really those leaders of today, and it's very few that are leading and everybody else is copying. You know what I mean? For me, it's okay to copy. You know what I mean? To get to where you want to go. But if you're doing interviews and you're getting props and you're getting all this credit for being an incredible b-boy and you haven't added anything to the game that you can call your own or anything to the game, let's say to uplift the evolution of it, I think you're just the average, you know, if you want to say it like that. It's like, for me, Kenny is the epitome of it all, like, you know. Every time I watch Kenny get down, it's better. He keeps getting better. You know, he has a better understanding, and all he's doing is pulling out old moves from before and twisting them up and changing them around, you know what I mean? There's young cats out there that are doing their homework, and they look a little bit like Kenny, or they look a little bit like Lake, but they're studying it all, and they're finally finding themselves now. You know what I mean? They're starting to add their own fingerprint, their own little swagger amongst the imitating. You know what I mean? I think that's good, you know, because those guys will become leaders because they understand about originality. For the guys that are just taking and don't care about the history or the way of life or anything, to me, they ain't nothing but carbon copies, and they don't care enough of the dance you know, they love the dance, they just want the props, that's it, you know, but they don't want the longevity of it, they just want props tomorrow, and they get an interview and say, yo, how'd you get your style? And then they just say, oh, me in my garage practicing, this, that, but you know damn well they've been watching Ivan because they look fucking like Ivan. You know, you could tell they've been watching Kenny because they look like Kenny. You know what I'm saying? To me, that's wrong if you don't mention the pioneers that came before you or the ones you are watching. You know, some people don't mention their pioneers or the ones they're watching because they're afraid of being called a biter. You know, so they're afraid so much of being called a biter, they forget about morals, about real morals and showing respect. There's a balance, you guys. You know, you don't bite the hand that fed you. We do imitate and we do copy the ones we like, you know, and we learn from them. Go up to them, learn from them. You get famous. Like when I do my works, I always say, yo, this is this. Star Child Rock is this. You know, and I'm having the honor to talk to Track, a member of Star Child Rock. Now it's an honor. You know what I'm saying? It's like Ness is getting all this information from Track and from others in the Bronx as well. You know, in Cali, I get to talk to Sidewalk Breakers. In New York, I get to see, you know, I hear what Fable's talking about, what Wiggle's talking about. Icy Ice, I get to meet him, you know, Kid Freeze, like all these people, I'm getting to hear their stories, and you just learn, and you become familiar with who you are through these stories, because there's such a similarity, you know what I mean? And it gives you, I don't know, a better understanding, which gives you a better expression. A way of expressing, and you change, you turn into you know? There's cats that just look at the movements themselves and don't care about the formula of it or the history of it or why they move a certain way, and I think that's wrong and that's lost, because then you're just breaking, you're doing it, but it's like gymnastics, it's like there's nothing else but the step, and there's nothing behind it. You know what I mean? It's important to learn what's behind it. But I know, when you mention Korea, I know brothers like Rivers is doing their homework. I know Floor Games, I know Born and all them are trying to really educate these kids. I like what KoreanRock.com is doing, KoreanRock.com. They are really bringing out old clips of Mauricio, Kenny, Swift Rock, Rocksteady. Like, they're bringing out these clips and showing that it's not just from your favorite b-boy, that it comes from these favorite b-boys, the one before the ones you saw. You know what I mean? And I like that, because now it's showing the lost generation that doesn't know where it comes from. It's showing finally, like, oh wow, there was guys already moving like that. There was already guys doing rhythm and patterns and jerks and playing like, you know, I've learned so much throughout these. Yo, we've all gotten better, even the older generation. Kenny has gotten better. Like, every time I see him, he's better. It's like we just have a better understanding. We're continuously learning, but you have to be open for that. You can't be thinking because you won 100 competitions that you're the shit. Because if you don't know the culture and you don't know where it comes from and you won 100 competitions, you're a lost soul. You're just winning competitions. Come to a cypher with the big boys and see how you're going to win. You know what I mean? When you can do that, it's a whole different story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I would say learn and educate. I would say, you know, we're at a good stage in our time for the information. The internet is for information. If you're just looking for the internet to copy moves and not worry about the interviews because you don't like somebody or whatever and you don't want to hear their voice because they annoy you, yo, forget about that. Listen to what's being said. Incorporate it. Translate it into your language, the ones that speak perfect English. You know, translate it into Korean, translate it into Spanish. Like, I speak Spanish, so I translate. You know, I want to translate it so people can have a better understanding instead of assuming. You know, I think a lot of us go through the same struggles. You know, even though maybe if you didn't grow up in the ghetto like a lot of us, I've lived in the poorest area. I come from a single mother, you know, raising me. She worked a full-time job. I was on my own, so I was hanging the block all day at the park, and, you know, and I've lived also in the richest areas, you know. So I've seen both sides. I've been able to travel and see the struggles in Korea, the worry about going to the army, being forced to go to the army, you know. Some people think, I would say, it's not the end of the world. You know, you're only there for 2 years, right? 2 years goes in a blink of an eye. In those 2 years, you're going to learn discipline and another trade that you can fall back on when you stop breaking, or you can incorporate it in your breaking. When you get out of the army, you continue breaking. I guarantee you're going to have a better understanding of life and a better understanding of the floor when you get down. All right? So it's not the end of the world. You know what I'm saying? Take it from me. I've lived and worked every trade. I work a regular job. I don't dance full time. You know, I go to school now. I'm a full-time student. I'm trying to open my business in retail. I'm trying to write a book. I'm trying to do so many things, you know, just to be me, you know what I'm saying? Just to pass the knowledge and just be me and learn even the knowledge. When I teach a workshop, it's really sharing, and it's really sometimes making stuff up on the spot. Like, it might be the first time I'm breaking down something, and breaking it down might just make me understand it better that time. And then I go home and I write it in my chapter, because finally I found an easier way to break it down. You know what I'm saying? So I even learned, and it just uplifts everybody. You know what I mean? I would say do that. You know, I would say for all the future generations, from Korea to everybody around the world, really, really watch what's being done. Listen to what's being done. See the steps, why the steps move a certain way, where the step came from. There's a lot of arguing about steps at the moment. Eliminate, step back, let them argue, and take in what's positive about that argument. You know what I mean? And discard the rest. Just take in the positive part of the story. You know what I mean? Even the negative part can teach you something, get you ready for something. You know what I mean? So I would say, yo, there's nothing wrong with being lost a bit, but don't stay lost. If you love what we're doing, learn and open your mind, man. Don't be closed-minded. Third eye right here, bro. All day, every day, even on the what? Yeah.